All right, so now we're going to go into, as a perfect segue, into Kimura from open guard. Okay, so now when we're in Kimura, when we lock Kimura from open guard, understand there's a lot more movement now because I don't have my partner's hips controlled by my legs. So my partner has a lot more choices of where she wants to go. I have a lot more choices of where I want to go. I can start pummeling myself at the half guard. I can go butterfly hook. I can go regular butterfly guard. I can go Yoko Sumigaeshi. There's tons of different positions I can use with my body when I have the Kimura locked. So I have less control over my partner's hips, which means she has more directions to move, more options she has. But because I have less control and less connection of my partner, I also have a lot of options that I can look for in terms of submissions, in terms of moving my body around my partner's, moving my partner's body around, and using the Kimura to move into different types of attacking situations. So it gets really interesting from open guard where I lock an initial Kimura because of the fact that there is no connection with the lower body, and it gives both my partner and myself a lot more options in terms of movement. All right, so this time, off of this failed initial Kimura from here, or the failed Sumigaeshi rather, we go in, we hit the failed Sumigaeshi, and I always make sure that when I go to lock Kimura, I have some kind of control over my partner's arm, whether it be wrist, or whether it be inside bicep tie, or she goes to recenter the head, and I can reach over and lock in. The reason being, when I go to lock Kimura from here, I can always lock Kimura without my partner going through and locking body lock. I don't just fail the Sumigaeshi, and then I reach, and now she body locks me, and I get beat from here. Okay? So I go through, and I fail the Sumigaeshi. As my partner goes to recenter the head, I pull my partner in towards me. When she goes to lock body lock, she can't do it. I either have inside control here, or I have inside control here, where I go to take my partner over with the collar tie, with the overhook, whatever the case is. Now, as she goes to move her head back to center to stop me, she leaves the arm behind, and we go in and we lock up with Kimura. Now, right from this position, a couple of ways we can move to power Kimura. Okay, number one is we can take our left foot through to the hip. Now, we can use that to start taking our leg either through, or we can throw it around. Both work well. Depends on what there's not a right or wrong here. One, we switch the leg through, and one, we go up and over our partner's head. Generally, the higher our partner's posture, the harder it will be to go over the head. Well, especially if she's posturing and she has the hand off the ground. Usually I go through, and we look to start pushing our partner's head away, and then we switch her over. If the posture is low and the hand's on the ground, then it's easier to just fire my leg up and over. Now, right from here, we're going to look to post on our partner's hip, and we're going to look to just shimmy ourselves into a situation where we can extract our left leg. We're going to fire our left leg up and over, and then we're going to use a back heel of our left leg to move ourselves into this position. Now, most of the time, your partner will have hands locked. If she's good, she'll lock the hands before my legs come all the way through, and she'll have the hands locked inside my legs. Now, we'll take the slice, I can see. Now, from here, this is very important. When we go to unlock our partner's hands, if I'm dealing with a strong partner from here, I want to look to strongly back heel with my two legs. I want to look to open my two knees so that my weight is carried by my partner's body, and I want to look to bring my hips off the floor. Now, as I pull the upper body towards me, her arm towards me, I just extend my hips away, and I will always separate my partner's hands. So I back heel to control posture, I flare the knees, and I bring my hips off the floor, and then I just pump, and I separate the hands. Now from here, the finish is, as we always talk about. We take that right elbow, we wedge our partner's hand in place with the left hand, the right elbow sweeps down towards the floor. That gives us incredibly strong finishes. If from here, my partner elects to roll through, we want to make it hard with the weight over my partner's hips. So when she goes to roll through, she can't until she's pinned in a static position long enough for me to break her before she can roll through. But there's always going to be times where your partner does roll through. Now she goes to roll through, she ends up in this position. Right from here, we go through, we just extend our right leg, and now we just sweep our right elbow up towards the ceiling, and we get strong finishes here. Conversely, my partner goes to roll through. If she goes to roll through, I don't want to follow my partner in a bottom position or into a situation where I follow her into a Kimura, and I want to stay facing belly up. As she goes to roll through, I can also go through, go ahead. And I can switch to various forms of Jujikatame. I can just let her insert, rotate inside. There are those allergies. And go into Jujikatame from here. Okay, so one more time. This time I fail a Sumigashi. As I fail the Sumigashi, I get a hand posted. Now, as my partner goes to recenter the head, if she doesn't recenter the head, then I just keep going with the Sumigashi. So she has to aggressively recenter that head, and as she does, we go right into Kimura. Now, it's very important from here that I don't just allow my partner, I don't just reach and let my partner lock body lock. I always have a wedge between myself and her. So as she goes to lock her hand, she can't do it. Now we go in, we lock Kimura. Now, right from here, if I can get it behind my partner's back, then I can just immediately roll my partner through. If from here, she doesn't do anything, she gets finished. So she has to roll over her shoulder and end up in Kimura position. More than likely, when you lock Kimura, your partner will be already ready to lock her hands. And as my partner goes in, she goes to lock those hands. As she locks those hands, now it's time for me to go in and start going into Kimura, or into power Kimura. So a couple of ways I can do this. I can take my left foot across my partner's hip. We can take our leg through and we can fire it over. Or we can take our foot to our partner's hip, like so. So now when she goes to circle towards me, she can't do it. And now we can take our leg, fire it over. We can take our leg, if she's trying to posture up, and take it through and make space. And now we can throw both of our legs over and move ourselves into position here. Now, right from here, we have our partner's hands locked. We want to look to start back heeling strongly, bringing our heels down to the floor, splaying our knees and bringing our hips up. So that now when we pull the elbow towards us and we extend the legs, you can always separate your partner's hands. Now, right from here, when she goes to do anything, she's getting broken. If she tries to roll, we make it hard because she's carrying body weight. If she tries to posture, forget about it. Now, when she goes to roll, we either follow through and finish belly down, or, go ahead, we make a transition into various forms of Jujikatame, where we can go in and start finishing our partner. But transitioning into a power Kimura off the failed Sumigashi if our partner locks the hands defensively. All right, so we're going to look at going into a failed Sumigashi into a Kimura. Right, so when I go to hit this Sumigashi, there's various kinds of Sumigashi. Well, here we go. Where I'm trying to get my partner's head to the floor, okay? If I can get my partner's head to the floor, I'm going to hit it with a Sumigashi. So my partner has to base the hand, and she has to recenter the head. Okay, as the head recenters, this allows me to come through and start locking Kimura. So we can do this off of a collar tie and an inside bicep tie, like so. Where as she goes to recenter, we reach through and we lock Kimura. We can do it off of an overhook and a wrist. Or from here, I go to hit Sumigashi and she recenters the head. And as she goes to recenter the head, I go up and over and I catch. And we lock Kimura. Something very important here is that I always have control over my partner's hand. What I can't just do is go to hit a lazy Sumigashi, and then I go to reach, and I go to do this, and I get body locked, and I get flattened down, and I get my guard passed. That's no good, okay? So make sure that whenever you go to do this, you have either an inside bicep tie like so that as my partner goes to recenter the head, I just guide it on through, and now I just move into this position here. So I just touch my wrist to my forearm. So when she goes to lock her hands, there's a wedge between myself and her. Now when she goes to pommel her hand out, it will always feed right into my Kimura. Or we can do it with the wrist, where we have an overhook, for example, where you go to hit Sumigashi with the wrist like so. And now, as my partner goes to bring the head back, we can go collar tie and we can move it across. Or many times she tries to posture up, and as she goes to posture up, we just reach across and we go in and we lock Kimura like so. Okay. Now, once we get into this Kimura position, a couple different options we have from here. So we hit an initial failed Sumigashi, and then we go right into Kimura once again. Okay, the first thing is if I'm on my left hip from here, and I can tuck my partner's hand in, it's the easiest thing in the world now. Let's move towards the wall. It's the easiest thing in the world now to just hit a secondary Sumigashi where I just tuck my partner's hand in, and now my partner goes to base over the shoulder. She has no hand to do so with. And now I can just use my left foot to start bridging, my right foot to start lifting, and we can just take our partner up and over, and we can go into the Sumigashi here. Now, what we do here is up to you. One of my favorites is I can take my head and tuck it toward my partner's arm. And now from here, I can just move into T Kimura positions where we can go into all of our attacks. Okay? Another great option we have is we can hit that Sumigashi. Look this way. We can hit that Sumigashi. And as we hit the Sumigashi, we knock our partner over. We just hop across the side. We're now end up in top side control, and we're ready to go to all of our attacks from there. We have two good choices. If I lock the Kimura, and I can get myself onto my left hip like so. My partner has no base support up and over here. So when she goes to base that hand, she can't do it. So two good choices is one, I just take my partner up and over. We just hop across. Or two, I take my partner up and over. We end up in T Kimura positions where now we're ready to come up and start attacking our partner right from here. Okay? Now, if I get extreme resistance from my partner, I try to go for the Kimura here, and I feel like the Sumigashi's not working, and she puts me back flat on my hips, like so. Now my whole thing is, can I get my partner's hand behind my back? A lot of times, if my partner's hands aren't locked, it's pretty easy to get the hand behind the back because you have extension with your legs. So it's not just your hand, tight, strong body, not just your hand trying to get your partner's hand behind the back, it's the extension of your legs where you can pump the legs and you can eventually get the hand behind the back like so. You won't always be able to do it, but it's a lot easier most of the time. If my partner's hands end up behind the back, it's the easiest thing in the world now for me to just immediately start shifting my partner out by using my right leg out in this direction and then pulling my right elbow down towards the floor. I don't care how strong your partner is, if you get the hand behind the back, the strongest person in the world is going to look like the weakest person in the world. If the hand is behind the back, they're going to go, or they're going to get broken. So from here, the second the right elbow starts pulling down towards the floor, she has to go into a roll. And as she does so, it allows me to move into a T Kimura, where now I have all of my options of coming up, scissoring my legs, getting into top position with Kimura. She turns towards me. She gives me her back. And now top hook comes in, bottom hook comes in. Or I can start going into all of my crucifix, Yoko Senkaku kind of attacks from here. Okay, whether I trap my partner's head or whether I just trap my partner's arm, we can start going into crucifix options from here as well. Okay, so we're going to take our partner over into T Kimura and then go into attacks right from there. Now there's always going to be times where I try to hit that initial Kimura and I try to get the hand behind the back, and if here my partner locks the hands. So now I try to go and I get the hand behind the back and I can't get the hand behind the back. Whenever I see this, now because your partner's hands are locked, just go Sumigashi in the opposite direction. Okay, you can always, if you're trying to get the hand behind the back, you can always go Sumigashi out to my right, her left side, and if she doesn't do anything, she'll just follow. What she has to do, she has to post that hand. And as she posts that hand, now I can start trying to get the hand behind the back, and now we can go into all of our attacks. So we can go Sumigashi right, we can go Sumigashi left. And even from here, when she locks her hands, even from here, if the hands are locked, I can immediately just start going Sumigashi out on the other side. I can start shifting her out in this direction, and I can take her over. So you have the ability to start taking your partner over in either direction, contingent upon which way you want to go, and the choice is yours because her hands are locked. And once the hand's unlocked, you can put the hand right behind the back and go into all of your attacks. We have a bunch of different options off of the initial failed Sumigashi, just getting the Kimura, failing the Sumigashi, getting the Kimura, and then taking your partner over from one side to the other, depending on which hip you're on, what you're trying to do. Are you trying to move your partner? Are you trying to get the hands behind the back? Are you trying to move yourself around your partner? You have a lot of different options from here, stemming off of this initial failed Sumigashi, with the emphasis being on having a wedge between yourself and your partner so they can't just immediately come forward and body lock you. All right, so this time, when we get the hands to the floor and we lock Kimura, my partner a lot of times will do a good job of using the opposite hand to shuck my legs through and to try to start moving around towards my back. And this is a smart thing for her to do, okay? So she uses that free hand that she can't lock her hands a lot of times. We go failed Sumigaeshi. As she goes to recenter the head, we go in and we lock Kimura, and she just passes my leg on by and starts crushing my legs together. All right? Right from here, as my partner goes to navigate towards my back, what I'm looking to do from here is I'm looking to hit a Sumigaeshi out and over my right shoulder. So as my partner goes to start circling towards my back, we're just going to start lifting out and over the right shoulder, and we use the Kimura to take my partner over and lock up into a T-Kimura, and we start moving into situations where we can go into T-Kimura options right off of there. Okay? So right from here, we go in, we get that hand to the floor. Once we get our partner's hand to the floor, like so, we go in and we start playing around with Sumigaeshi options. If at any point my partner recenters the head, we can pass the head on by, we can go in and we can lock Kimura like so. Now, right from here, she passes my leg across. She uses that second hand. So either she's going to, one, lock her hands like so, and now from here, as she locks her hands, we can start firing my legs into position where I can start going and throwing myself into these power Kimuras here, or leg Kimura, whatever we want. We'll look at that later. Or, if she can't lock her hand, then from here, she's going to look to start using her free hand to start crushing my legs together. Because now, if I don't do anything and she starts migrating towards my back, this is bad news for me. So right from here, the second I feel her start moving in towards my back, because her hands are unlocked, I can always use that Yoko Sumigaeshi to connect Kimura or start taking my partner up and over. If at any point I feel like I go for the Yoko Sumigaeshi and it fails, then I can just forward shift and we can just put our butterfly hook back in place, and now we're right back into situations where we can go in, we can start posting on our partner's hip, we can start taking our legs into position, and now we can go right back into our power Kimura right from there. Okay? So we have a kind of dilemma game now, where if from here we try to go for the Kimura, she makes it difficult, we go in and I go for Sumigaeshi, she makes it difficult, we go in and we lock Kimura. Okay? When I go to lock Kimura, I don't want to just reach and then have my partner go in and body lock on me. This is no good. So I'm always making sure that before I lock Kimura, I have either a wrist or I have some kind of control over my partner's arm. That as she goes to go in, recenter the head, she goes to body lock, she comes onto some kind of wedge that doesn't allow her to lock the hands. Now from here, the dilemma is if she locks the hands and she makes it hard for me to start separating the hand and putting it behind the head, now it's a pretty easy thing for me to start going through. I can start taking my leg through. I can start posting on my partner's hip. There's all kinds of different ways we can go through and lock power Kimura from here. If I feel like she unlocks the hands and brushes my leg on by and starts migrating towards my back, we have to have an active hook inside my partner's hip here. So as she goes to move towards my back, we just start lifting out and over, making it hard for her to base out. We can easily use the Kimura in combination with the Yoko Sumigaeshi to take my partner over and get into winning positions with T-Kimura. All right, so now the third part of this trilemma is if my partner locks the hands, we can go power Kimura. If my partner keeps the hands unlocked and tries to sweep our knees together, then we can go Yoko Sumigaeshi. Or if she doesn't do anything, we can just put the hand behind the back, but that's unrealistic. Most people are going to either sweep the knees together defensively or lock the hands defensively. Another thing someone will try to do is once I lock Kimura, people will try to start circling to side control on the side of the Kimura here and start looking to start circling around and going in for a Juji Tami on you and going in and setting up arm bars on you. Okay? So this is where the preference of where your foot is going to go is going to take place. When I go to lock power Kimura, if I bring my foot through here, it will make it easier for my partner to start circling out to my left and going into side control. So a lot of times I bait my partner into this position. If I post to my partner's hip here, it makes it a lot harder for my partner to circle. So a lot of times, depending on what I'm trying to do, I either post on the hip if I want to just force my partner into power Kimura, or I'll go here far hip if I want her to circle. Now, if I go here and my partner starts trying to circle, as she starts trying to circle, there's going to be a key pivotal moment where she has no base of support out in this direction somewhere. So when she goes to circle then, she circles, 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 circles. Now notice, right out in this direction, she has no base of support. So I just take my partner's hand and I just push everything in this direction with the Kimura. When she goes to base, she has no hand. her feet can't reach out here in this direction. So as she goes to start circling, to just sit her down to a Kimura here. And now right from here, we go into all of our options, where if my partner turns towards me, we insert the knee, and now we can take our partner's back. And then right from here, we looked at this before, we just go to a back head and arm. As my partner goes to get up, we just put our top hook in, we tilt our partner, and then we focus on inserting the bottom hook. So right from here, she tries to start circling. As my partner goes to start circling, we still have that Sumigashi. She goes to resign on the head, we hit that Kimura. Immediately from here, my partner goes to start circling. Maybe she immediately just is like, screw this, I'm going to start circling. As my partner goes to start circling from here, she circles, circles, circles. If I go too early, it won't work. If I go too late, get in, it won't work. There has to be, this is a sensitivity thing. As my partner goes to circle, there's going to be about a split second where there's no base support. Out in that direction, the directionality of force is very important. Now from here, my partner turns toward me, she gets her back taken. If from here she stays in this position, I have options to go into Yoko Senkaku, go to Trimura dilemmas. I can start scissoring my legs and coming up to top position and going into Kimuras from here. There's a bunch of different things that we can do, okay? The main thing is I look at my partner's reaction. If my partner locks the hands defensively, it's usually pretty easy to go into power Kimura, things like that, or just go into Sumigashis. If I feel that my partner brings my legs together, then Yoko Sumigashi is an option. And if I feel that I lock Kimura, my partner starts instantly trying to circle from here, as she goes to circle, 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 I just follow, I just sit my partner down towards the floor, and then right from here, we either have the choice of taking my partner's back if she comes towards us, we have the choice of going into various forms of crucifix and Yoko Senkaku, and we have the choice of just swishing our legs, posting our head on the floor, and then coming into a belly down position where now we can focus on getting into our true Kimura positions and finishing from top side control. All right, so another great option that we have here is when we lock this Kimura, a lot of times a reaction you see is for people to just immediately start to posture up, and they try to start posturing up from here, and then as they posture up, they lock their hand and the elbow slips inside, and you see big, strong guys where the second my partner locks a Kimura, guys immediately just try to do stuff like this and break the lock, and they pull the hands towards the opposite shoulder, and the grip comes undone, and they posture up and away. One great option that we have from here is if I lock Kimura and I'm not fully supine from here. If I'm fully supine from here, now it's just a matter of looking to start hitting Sumigashis and then getting my partner to post. If I hit Sumigashi over my right shoulder and she posts her hand out on the floor to base, now I can start looking to put my partner's hand behind the back and go into all kinds of things where I roll my partner through, okay? If I feel I'm relatively seated and we're fighting this battle here, and I feel like my partner's trying to posture up, the first thing I want to make sure of is that my partner's hips can't come too far towards me, okay? So the first thing I do is I just take my foot and I post it on my partner's hip. So now when she goes to posture up, she can't bring the hips far enough towards me to actually break the lock. If the hips can come forward and the head can rise, she can break the lock every time. Now, when she tries to thrust the hips forward, she can't do it. Now the hands are locked, so there's nothing monitoring my ankles. So right from here, I just take my right leg and I fire it up and over my partner's shoulder like so, where now we can just go into all of our Trimura action. Right from here, we just lock up. With our legs, we can lock into a full triangle, or we can just keep our legs locked like so. It's always best to be able to go in and lock up a full triangle if we can. Now, right from here, we just separate those hands, and immediately we're in position to go in, start breaking our partner. So the main thing here is that if I lock Kimura, and I'm relatively supine here, this is my cue to start either one, threatening Sumigashi out in this direction, putting the hand behind the back, getting my partner to post. As she posts the hands, then we go Kimura behind my partner's back. If we're relatively supine, we go in, she locks her hands, we pull our partner into this position. Now from here, we can forward chip. We can start posting our leg over on our partner's hip. We can start firing our leg up and over. So we can start moving into power Kimura like so. If we're relatively seated, we have Kimura, like so. We just locked it. I see my partner trying to posture out. I just post to my partner's hip. And now I pull my partner's upper body forward. When the head can't rise because of my elbow position on my partner's shoulder, and most importantly, the post on my partner's hip, and the hips can't come forward when she goes to power out of this, now it's going to be very, very difficult. Now all I have to do is just fall into a situation where I can throw my leg up and over. I lock myself into at least a semi-senkaku, and now from here, we can separate our partner's hands and go into strong breaks with Trimura off of this initial catch. All right, so now we have some kind of Kimura here. We're trying to make something happen. Maybe we go in and we just initially get it behind our partner's back with the sumigaeshi. This happens rarely, but if it does happen, you just take your partner over into a sumigaeshi. Your partner into a T-Kimura with the sumigaeshi. Your partner locks the hands. Your partner sweeps the knees by. We've covered all this. Hey, now let's just say we just go in and we get a Kimura and we're working with the Kimura, and you see our partner posture up. My partner just posts on the hips, and you have someone who's real sweaty, possibly greasy, just a big, strong guy, and they posture out and the Kimura just slips out, okay? Whenever I see this, whenever I see I'm going through this Kimura here, and I see my partner posture and slip out and away, understand that the upper body moves away, but the legs will always start to come a little bit further towards you. So that we have a bunch of different leg entries that we can look at here. The main thing is just getting you into the habit. The second I see my partner look to start posturing up and away, we just slide legs behind our partner's legs, and then we go into attacks on our partner's legs and follow up so that the weakness of the Kimura system is taken over by the strength of the leg lock system, okay? And bridging the gap between the lower and the upper body, as we always speak about. So right from here, I tried to go for the Kimura. I try to hit the sumigaeshi. Sumigaeshi fails. She goes to recenter. I pull my partner in and I lock Kimura from here. Now right from here, immediately I see that she's posturing out and away. She steps the leg up and she just immediately drives the hips forward and the hand just rips out and away and the elbow's gone. Whenever I see this, this is always our appropriate time now to start going in, start entering our partner's legs, start going into X guard, start going into reverse X, entering cross ashi, all kinds of different exits that we have here, and just get in the habit of the second the upper body moves away from you, just going right into the lower body and going right into your attacks right from here. And going into all of your follow-ups on the legs. All right, so now another great option we have is instead of going into my partner's legs, okay, this is a great segue to go into what we're going to look at now, which is half guard. So right from here, the second I feel I have Kimura locked, and I'm trying to go in and lock Kimura, and I feel like my partner is maybe stepping a leg up, maybe she's posturing up. Right from here, we always have the choice from here. The second my partner goes to posture up and away, I can always come in and I can just punch and underhook into place. I can scoop my partner's leg if it's up, and now we can just go in and we can start playing our half guard game from here, where we can go in and play all of our half guard, deep half guard, and whatever you want from this position going into all of our attacks. So whenever I see the Kimura is failing and I feel like maybe I don't want to go into the legs, maybe I'm not a leg lock guy, whatever the case is, and I just want to get a connection to my partner, we can use the Kimura, we can use the Kimura to just form a proper connection to our partner in some kind of half guard or butterfly half guard. So the second I go in here, and I feel like from here, my partner is just posturing up and away, as my partner goes to posture away, notice I can just immediately tuck my elbow in, and as my elbow tucks in, I just punch my underhook in place. And now I have the choice of either going butterfly half guard, or I can start elevating into X guard, going into all of my attacks with Ashigurami. Or if you want a traditional half guard, you can just take your butterfly hook out. And now as your partner goes to posture, you have the ability to start splitting your partner's legs with deep half guard and anything or any attacks you want to go into from there. If she kicks the leg back, then I can just go in and I can start taking my partner forward. I can start going into lower leg shifts. And that brief second where your partner tries to rip out of the Kimura will give you the ability to transfer into some kind of half guard where you can form a connection and then go into your follow-up attacks from there.